bit more about what he does. And of course, I always have my co-host here with me, Autumn Sullivan. And she is in process of making sure this all works perfectly. So while everybody's still logging in, we are going to just let her do her thing.
We are good. We are live on LinkedIn. We have participants rolling in. So if you guys want to go ahead and get started, I will be monitoring your LinkedIn Live. So if there are any questions, I'll go ahead and pop back up and relay those to you. You can also ask questions if you're here on Zoom. You can ask questions in the chat or in the Q&A, and I'll be monitoring both of those. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off and let you guys have a great conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, Autumn.
Thank you.
So yeah, everyone join us now. Integrated Business Financing. Jonathan Fodera is the founder and CEO. He is with me today as a guest. We're going to talk about business credit, why it's important, how you can impact it, what it does for you, what it can do to hurt you, and all the different ways you can get this fixed, repaired, or maintain it, and things you can check on. So Jonathan, I know you're traveling, and thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Trying to get us a nice view in the background as we're going through this. So guys, thanks for bearing with me. Hopefully I don't come in choppy. I wanted to kind of help and educate everyone a little bit about business credit, right? So everyone understands that you have your personal credit score, right? And that drives almost everything that you do, okay? Including getting an SBA loan, a line of credit, buying a car, buying a house. Well, your business also has a credit score, okay? And it works the same way, but it's different than your personal credit. All right. So when you're going and maybe applying for larger jobs with a municipality, when you're trying to get a piece of equipment or even get a large loan or an SBA loan, your business credit comes into play. So it's very important that when you're doing this, you understand that you have you work on your business credit and you work on your personal credit. All right. Now, Scott, if anyone has any questions, because I can't see the comments, or if you think you want to fire off a question.
Yeah, the question I usually get, and I think it'd be good for you to touch on this, would be just what is business credit exactly? Like, how do I get like I own a business, but how does my business get a credit score, and where do I see it or find it? That's not something I typically hear. That's the most common question I get from our clients or other folks out there.
Got it. So the easiest way to say, hey, where can you check your business credit? Dunn and Bradstreet. Dunn and Bradstreet and Experian are probably two of the more reputable business credit bureaus. All right. And we'll go into how to establish business credit next. Right. So as soon as you start your company, you get your federal tax ID. Once you have that federal tax ID, you can go and apply for your Dunn's number or Dunn and Bradstreet number. All right. And that's basically the start of you getting and establishing your business credit. Now, the reason why business credit is important, besides for financing, it allows you to separate your business and your personal to an extent, not completely separate, but to an extent. And what that does is now you can go out and get trade lines from vendors, which also helps with your cash flow, right? So if you can get net 15 or net 30 terms from your vendors, okay, instead of putting that on a line of credit or a credit card, that's going to help smooth out your cash flow and ultimately allow you to grow the business a little bit faster, right? So I want to go over 5 things that people usually get wrong, okay, when you establish your business credit, and this will really help. Okay, they're called the 5 fundability factors. 1, you need a business phone number and it can't be a Google voice, number. It has to be listed to the business. The next one is a business email. So many people have, Scott Pieper mobilization funding at Gmail, right? How many times have you seen that when someone applies? Or at Yahoo, okay? It needs to be, Jonathan at Integrated Business Financing. It's super easy to set that up. You just go to Google and you get a business account. It's G Suite, and it costs you like $9 a month. So if you're listening and you haven't done that, please make sure you have all this stuff done. Okay. Next is a business address. Okay. And the business address cannot be a PO box. Now, a lot of people say, well, hey, John, I'm home based. That's fine. You can put your home address there. Okay. But you have to have a business address. Okay.
Does your business address have to be your mailing address, Jonathan?
It does not have to be the mailing address.
Okay.
Okay, but it absolutely shouldn't be a PO box. You know,
Yeah.
we both know, being in the industry we're in, PO box is usually indicated. Usually, there can be some level of fraud having a PO box. Nothing's verifiable, right? You're literally just sending your mail to one location. So make sure you have a business address. Now, here's where it's super simple to tie in. All of those three things need to be on a business website. Okay. This website can be one page. It can be a simple one-page website. All right. But not having it is going to have you fail out of those 5 fundability factors. All right. And then the next and the most obvious, having a business bank account. Okay. Have a business bank account. So if you have all those things, then what I would tell you to do is go to Dunn and Bradstreet and make sure all those things are listed. Anywhere that your business is online, any web presence you have should have all of those things, and they should all match. All right. When something is pulled and there's conflicting information, it can actually hurt, your business credit and hurt anything that you're doing in the lending process. Does that make sense?
It does. So those are the 5 main things that like a Dun and Bradstreet or Experian are going to look at as sort of the, like, what I would call, you didn't say this, but I'm calling them like prerequisites to be able to have business credit.
Correct.
Once you do those 5 basic things, you're now eligible to have a business credit score, or more importantly, you're going to get a business credit score no matter what. You want to make sure you have one that's going to be positive. And if you have one that's negative because you don't even have it set up, that's going to be a problem. So
Yep.
I guess my next question to you is then, how does Dun and Bradstreet decide on what my business's credit score should be?
Well, that's a great question. So the challenge that most people have with establishing and building business credit, besides the prereqs we just went over, is that business credit only 7% of companies actually report. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're using companies that are reporting and you're opening up trade lines. Okay, don't buy trade lines. You're opening up trade lines that your company is using. So I'll give you some real easy ones. Every single business can use Staples, can use Best Buy, can use Uline. Okay, when you go and apply at these places, you want to apply using your Dunn's number. All right, because then it's going to report to Dun and Bradstreet. And just like a credit card, when you go there, you use the business credit. Okay, they might start you off super low. You use the business credit and then you pay it off at the end of the continuously open up trade lines. So if you have a vendor, see if they can give you terms and they can report. All right. So if you know you need the same materials, job in, job out, okay, and you always go and use one supply house, try to get terms from them and see if they report. And this matters because some municipalities, okay, and some of the larger jobs you can bid on, if you don't have a certain business credit score, they might not let you get the government work or the municipality work. On the other side, if you go and you try to get equipment financing, let's say you need a backhoe, okay, but you have no business credit, getting that approved is going to be tough. I just had a friend of mine try to buy a lot of trucks and a lot of trailers, but she didn't have anything recent on her business credit. So it's been a much harder process than if she had established business credit that she was actively using. And she does have a good credit score. So this stuff matters, especially when you're trying to grow and scale your business.
Nice. So I guess one of the questions is, can you get your supplier or your trade partner to actually report? Like, for example, if you have subcontractors that you're using, labor that you're hiring, subcontract labor, or you're ordering from the supply house and maybe they're not a large supply house, or maybe they are. Can you ask them all to report, or do they already? I guess two questions. Do they already report standard? And if not, can you require or ask them to? Is that something that can be done?
The only way to know if they're reporting is to actually pull it. So we can pull this credit at integrated. Most people are not reporting. That's just a fact. Most people aren't reporting. The ones I gave you, Uline, Best Buy, Staples, they should report, but those are smaller trade lines just to get it established and going. Now, what I will all right. Typically, if we build somebody's credit, right, their business credit, we can build $50,000 in trade lines within 6 months. That'll normally take, 12 to 18 months. All right. But it is important because as you go on and as you try to scale your business, take on bigger jobs, and you need to buy equipment or maybe an SBA loan, you really want that established. So you can ask anybody to report, and hopefully they do. I don't think you can require it. But if you have open business relationships and you're working with, let's say you're working with my team, we can see if we can have it self-reported, which would add to that trade line.
When you said it's really expensive, were you talking specifically about the Dunn's program that they try to sell, or are you saying it's just expensive to have business credit in general?
It's not expensive to have business credit, but Dunn's does have a done for you service. Okay, that is expensive.
So you don't need that necessarily.
You do not need that.
All right. So if I'm a business owner, I want to have established business credit. I see the value in it. I have a business. I meet the 5 fundability criteria that I need. I do buy from Staples or Uline, so I have some small credit there. I might even have a credit card that I'm using in the business that is in the business name that can be paid for, but I still don't have a lot of business credit. How do I build that up? What can I do?
You want to just open more trade lines.
Okay,
Open
so even
more
if they're
trade lines.
smaller trade lines. Well,
Yeah,
what does Dunn and Bradstreet do then as a service, or do you offer as a service in order to help build those trade lines up to where I can have 50,000? If my business credit shows I'm worthy of a $50,000 credit limit, or 100 or more, or whatever.
Yeah. So what we do is we have a team that specializes in it. So you would, inquire about that first. We don't offer that to anybody unless we've actually pulled their business credit first, because if they already have established business credit that's really strong, we don't want to pay for something that we're really not going to help. So what we would do is we'd have a review. We would do a review with you. And then if we think that we can really help and add value, we would connect you with our team. They would literally direct you who to apply, how to use it, when to go on to that next level, that next vendor. Because what happens is a lot of these companies change who reports and who doesn't, right? So our team stays on top of who's reporting, how they're reporting, and what bureaus they're reporting to. So let's say somebody only reports to Experian and we need them to report to Dunn and Bradstreet. We can actually go in there and self-report. So that's really how the service works. Now, if you are in construction or manufacturing or anything like that, the other way is use your business credit, right? So let's say your business credit is established and you need to get a $40,000 piece of equipment. Well, you should be financing that equipment because that will absolutely report. We can help you finance that equipment. It'll absolutely report to your business credit. And as you build, what you're doing is you're putting comparable debt on your business credit. So let's say this time we got you a $40,000 piece of equipment. Maybe in 6 months from now, business is growing. You want to get an $80,000 piece of equipment. Well, you have comparable debt on your business credit profile, which makes it an easier transaction to get done.
Does that usually result in like lower interest rates on equipment or better terms?
It can, absolutely. It can.
So, all right. So let me change gears on you for a second, Jonathan. So let's say I have a business. It's been well established. It's 5-6 years old. I have some business credit, but then I had a bad project or a bad job and my credit gets hurt, both could be personally, but definitely in the business credit gets hurt or dinged. What can I do to repair that or fix it or make it better?
It depends on what was damaged there, right? Like personal credit would work a little bit, differently. Personal credit is you're 30 days behind on a car payment, right? Business credit, it's going to depend on what trade line it is, how big was that trade line, and how late are you. If you pay it and bring it current, that's going to help you. Also, if you establish other trade lines that are strong and larger, that's going to help you. Like, credit is all weighed on, one, are you making all your payments on time? Two, how many trade lines or how many people have issued you credit? And three, what is your utilization? Right. So anytime that happens, it's all right. You got to bring it current and then use it the right way. Okay. And then ultimately, if you can open up more trade lines and use them and make sure they're current, that's always going to show a positive pay history.
Gotcha. Okay. So again, going back to construction or manufacturing, because that's a lot of our clients and our audience. In the business credit world, outside of equipment financing and maybe an SBA loan, and frankly, a lot of the SBA loans that I've seen given to clients, it relies so little on the business credit side to help them get it necessarily as much as it does like the financials and the cash flows and the tax return, the general business itself. What priority should we be putting our business credit in when it comes to trying to get a loan on the business?
Equipment financing is really where it's going to come into play.
Okay.
The most. And then I would say bidding on municipality work or government work, it comes into play. SBA, like you said, sometimes it does make a difference, right? But for the most part, or a very, very large transaction. Like, I know a couple fintech companies that if the business credit is not strong and you're trying to get more than, let's say, 200,000, 300,000, that will absolutely factor in. Okay. But SBA loan, like you said, it's primarily going to be what's the financials? How profitable were you? What is your personal credit? What collateral do you have, to support and back up the money that you're trying to borrow?
Okay. One other question I thought, does it help business credit if your financials are done by a CPA versus internally prepared, or if you get reviewed or audited financials? Will that help business credit?
No, that really doesn't come into play. Business credit, that's kind of like personal credit too, right? So it's all it's reporting is who's offered you credit, how have you paid them back, and what is your utilization?
Okay. So for everyone that's listening online, a couple things I want to point out. First, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them right in the Q&A box, and I'll be able to ask these right directly. In the meantime, I'll keep firing off the questions that I've gotten in advance that people have provided to me. So hopefully I'm doing a good job in getting those questions out, and anything I normally hear. So I'll switch gears, but go ahead and do that in the Q&A box now if you'd like, and I'll pull those up.
And hey, and anyone that's listening, if you guys want to know where your business credit is, just reach out. I'll try to get a link in there to schedule time to speak if you guys need help with anything. Or you could just reach out and message me. I am traveling. I'll be back in the office tomorrow. So please bear with me if I don't get back to you until tomorrow.
Yeah. For everyone that's on, we'll put Jonathan's contact information, his website, on the LinkedIn post when we recycle this back out, and we'll make sure that it's attached and in a spot where you guys can grab all that. So Jonathan, going back to outside of business credit, let's talk a little bit about the lending side of it and as it relates to business credit. So let's say, my business credit, I've not paid attention to. I don't really need to buy equipment. I do want to make sure I have good, I don't want it to hurt me, at least. Maybe it can't help me, but I don't want it to hurt me. What are some other things that I can do to make sure that I need equipment now, but I don't have business credit? What are some things I can do to make sure I can qualify for the equipment or the vehicles that I want? Or if I am thinking about getting an SBA loan or some other type of business loan, what are things that I can do now that I should be paying attention to in addition to business credit?
Well, a couple things is one, anytime you take financing or apply for financing, you should know where you stack up, where you stand. So how's your personal credit? How's your business credit? Very, very rarely do you see what we call a corporate only business transaction. And that's just somebody that is solely using their business credit to get a piece of equipment. And for that, you have to have outstanding business credit. And typically, I believe either 5 years in business or 7 years in business and have a lot of comparable debt. Okay. Now, for the average business owner, okay, what you can do is you can check on Dunn and Bradstreet, make sure, your business credit is one, established, and two, it looks all right. And your personal credit, right? Because equipment financing, those are going to be two of the bigger factors that weigh in. One, if you get approved or not, and two, how much you get approved for. And the other thing they like seeing is underwriters want to see comparable debt. All that means is if you're a logistics company, you've financed trucks and trailers in the past. Or if you're in construction, you've financed a couple Bobcats, you've financed a couple Komatsus, whatever it is that heavy equipment that you use is. Okay, so having that comparable debt on there is very helpful. And if you don't have comparable debt because you're a younger company, my suggestion is make sure that you have strong personal credit, strong business credit, you keep a decent amount of cash in the bank, and then I can help you get, those first couple pieces financed. Then they get seasoned or aged, and then they're on your business credit profile. And then it's easier if you go back in, let's say, 6 months or 12 months to get another piece financed.
So one question we just got from Russell. What type of financials, hang on a second, let me open that up. What type of financials, like what kind of revenue, position, business owner, FICO scores, years in business, collateral, would a subcontractor typically need to establish a line of credit with a commercial bank or credit union? What do you see as the minimums to establish with a line of credit with a bank? So I guess the question, if I were summarizing here, this correctly, is what are some of the minimum expectations that a bank, in your opinion, is trying to see if they want to get a traditional line of credit? And let's just say it's not articulated here, but let's just say it's an appropriate size line of credit for whatever you need for the business. It fits.
Yeah, happy to help. I can only answer to what my programs would look like. Mine are pretty traditional. So for a line of credit, you're going to want to see 2 years in business, at least $30,000 a month in revenue, 8+ deposits. Okay. So you want more deposits going into the bank. You want steady cash flow. When I say steady cash flow, you don't want to see any negative days. You want to keep, rule of thumb, between 5 and 10% of whatever your top line sales are as an average daily balance. So let's say you're doing $50,000 a month. Ideally, we'd like you to have $5,000 average daily balances. On the low end of the credit spectrum, 650. Anything above 650 is a plus. So that's where I would say your bare minimum, or that's where the credentials would be. So 2 years in business, 650 credit, at least $30,000 a month in revenue, and good cash flow.
I can add to that question too. I just attended a conference 2 weeks ago where some of the larger banks and some smaller regional sized banks, but 6 different banks were there, and they talked about their criteria. There was a few things that I took away from that. One was they all care about personal credit for sure. Even though it's on your business, they absolutely care about that. The minimums ranged exactly from as low as 570, but that was specific to a micro loan product by one credit union only here that happened to be local. And those loans only went up to 15 grand. But the minimum threshold was really at 640 and above. For significant lines of credit, they wanted to see 680 and even over 700. And then that was just personal credit. The business needed to be able to show that it could cash flow typically 1.5 times the debt service to be able to handle a traditional loan like an SBA loan. If it was a line of credit, They didn't give specific criteria. Well, they gave the criteria on the credit, but from a business perspective, they want to see that it's appropriately sized. They're going to have specific uses for that line of credit. They want to see it used and paid down, almost nearly used and paid down on a monthly basis. Even if you were to use it, pay it down and immediately redraw it the next day, they want to be able to see that you're using that line of credit as not a loan, but more as a use of free cash to handle differences between payment terms that you may have with a supplier or payroll, bridging the gap between when you're paid and not. And they want to see the financial discipline on being able to do that. Hard to do when you don't have a line of credit. And in some of the industries, they were just completely agnostic to the fact that if you were in construction, for example, some banks just weren't going to do that at all. So I would say, aside from the things you can do in personal credit, do not make the assumption that all banks are the same. Find your smaller community-sized banks where you can have a relationship with a specific banker and get in now before you ever need or want a line of credit. You're going to need to build a long-term relationship with them, face-to-face, somebody that can work and advocate on your behalf. That was the biggest takeaway I took from them. They made that point clear. So get in, build a relationship with them, make sure you have some deposit accounts, let your face be seen, show them a business plan, show them where you're going, what you're trying to establish, let them know you don't need them right now, but you really are going to look forward to them as you execute. Give that banker the information that you can submit to and start building that rapport. Are there any other questions in there? Nope, at the moment. Jonathan, I have a question for you. What are some of the what's a typical question or two that you are typically asked, but no one's asked, or I haven't asked you yet today?
About business credit or just in general?
Well, I'd say business credit for sure. But if there's some other nugget in there, yeah, definitely. But any other questions on business credit or repairing it, or?
I think the biggest thing is people ask, when should I do it? Right? That's one of the things that everyone wants to know. And the truth of the matter is, it's like planting a tree. The best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. The next best time is today. All right. So the thing is, with business credit, it does take time. Okay. It takes time to build. So you want to start today. Okay. Anytime you want to apply for financing, think about it. Scott, we help business owners all the time get financing to grow their business. However, how many times does somebody wait too late or wait till they absolutely need the financing to reach out instead of contacting us prior to when they need it, planning it out, and understanding, that you want to be in a good position. Like, the best time to apply for financing is when you don't need it. Why? Because your credit's probably strong. Your cash flow is probably strong. We're going to be able to get you a line of credit. We're going to be able to get your project funding. We're going to be able to help you, right? You don't want to wait until there's been a severe need, the cash flow's banged up, you started, leveraging your personal credit cards to float things, and now your personal credit is struggling. So with business credit, the best time to start is when you start your business, okay? But if you've never focused on it, it's something you should look into today. And if you need help, reach out. I'm happy to do it. All right. That's something with all type of financing. You want to apply when you don't need it.
I would add one thing. It's funny you said that I also took from that conference was there's three folks you need to get on early before you ever need them. And that's your CPA, your banker, and your attorney. And so I think you just hit the nail on the head right there. You want to put those folks on your team, in your corner, and be communicating with them way before you ever need them or have a crisis. Those are going to be your best friends in business outside of your current immediate team, of course.
Absolutely.
Does anyone else have any other questions? If you do, put them in the chat. Jonathan, is there anything you want to, we're coming up on our time here, and I want to make sure I'm appreciative of everyone's time, but is there anything that you want to add, talk about that we haven't touched on? I don't see any other questions popping up in the chat.
Nope, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. This was we made this happen. I'm super happy we could get this done. And I appreciate you. And listen, we're both here to help anybody that's watching. So, you know, you're in good hands.
All right, and I will make sure I get on the comments in LinkedIn, Jonathan's information, where you can reach him at. I'll also, it'll also of course be on our website and the replay of this, where you can always access on our YouTube channel. On my LinkedIn, you'll be able to see this, but it'll be also a link to our website, and we'll make sure we have all the info there. So between our YouTube, our website, and the LinkedIn, there'll be 3 places you can find that, as well as Jonathan's website directly.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for a great
Thank you.
conversation. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And yes, I will make sure that all the links are in the YouTube description and in the replay email if you registered via Zoom.
Excellent.
Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.